here with Cissy. Oh my gosh. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How's it going?
Good, good. I'm so stoked to have you on here. Thank you again so very, very much. And I know the whole community is pretty excited as well. Yeah, let's just jump right into it. How's your day so far? What have you been up
Good.
to?
Uh, you know, um, Getting up, getting the kids to school, and then I started taking tennis lessons again because I haven't played in 30 years, and I was like, why not? So I played tennis this morning, and it was really hot. And then I came home and showered, and that's why I look like a wet dog. But here we are.
You look great. That's awesome. So you used to play tennis before?
Yeah, in like high school, and then I haven't played in a very long time. So it's been fun. It's been nice to get back into it.
Yeah, tennis is always fun. I think I played probably when I was in middle school, like a long time ago. But I ventured into it again, like I don't know, like several years back, and I just like couldn't run. I was like, how do people do this? Because I don't
I
know.
know.
Have you ever done
And,
badminton?
uh, only at like in the mountains with my family and in very low stakes environments.
Badminton's pretty fun too. I feel like that's even crazier than tennis in terms of just running every which way. But yeah, I think a lot of people forget, just jumping kind of into just acting and what you're doing. Um, People forget that actors have families and kids. We just see what they do and the roles they play, but they don't realize the roles they play in their real lives. For
It's a
those of
juggling act.
It is. For those of you who don't know, this is Cissy Jones. She is an incredible actress, voice actress. You guys have probably heard her in several video games. Just look up her IMDb and you will be blown away by what you see. You'll be like, she was in this one, and she was in that, and she's in this as well. You could literally go on a Where's Waldo hunt with any video game you've probably played and find Sissy's voice. Um, yeah, and for those of you watching this stream right now, you probably know her best as Joyce in Life is Strange 1, the original, which has a yeah. Ah, I see that. So that's pretty close in your heart.
Yeah. I mean, how could it not be,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's a, it's kind of in that ilk of like The Walking Dead and kind of a precursor to The Last of Us that really I feel kind of kicked in the door to narrative storytelling in games, right? Like there there was always storytelling, but it was never as and just in my experience, I guess, which I guess is limited to be fair, but it, I never saw the storytelling that was as engaging and grounded and realistic that really like went for the feels. Usually it was like conversation, conversation, pew, pew, pew. And these games, I really feel just broke down the door and paved the way for all this great storytelling in games.
Yeah, I
So
100% agree with that. I mean, being a part of the Life is Strange franchise has just, I feel like, spoiled me in a sense because it was my first
100%.
yeah, it was my first video game that I did, and I don't know what it's like outside of this world because it's so different, I feel like, than exactly the action, the ones that are just talking and there's nothing much to it. There's not a story to it.
Yeah.
So would you say that is kind of do you seek out, or I guess like not maybe not seek out because we kind of just accept whatever we get, right? We're like, ah, cool, another gig. But is
Yeah.
that kind of where you would prefer to have your roles in, as more narrative games and projects?
I mean, I like to work wherever I
Yeah,
can, but it is where I often find myself booking.
I love
You know what
that.
I mean? Like I like Katya in The Walking Dead was my first job.
That
And
was your
then
first one.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was either my first or second audition from my agent in San Francisco. And I mean, talk about getting spoiled, right? Like
Yeah.
just thrown into
Yeah.
that pool with that amazing group of actors and creators. And so yeah, from there and then to Walking Dead and then then to Life is Strange and then Firewatch and then, Call of the Sea and all of these other games that really hinge on kind of the emotional pull that happens in these kind of games. That's where I find myself really comfortable. Um, so I work there a good amount and
I
it's
love
fun.
that. And so how did you get involved in the industry? Because if folks out there are looking at our IMDb right now, there's just tons of voiceover video games, tons of video
Yep.
games. So was that your initial like goal, or did you start other places?
Well, my path in was kind of roundabout. I actually have a business degree and a Spanish degree from University of Oregon, and then I worked in the Silicon Valley for 10 years in startup land and corporate chill and all that stuff. And I really super hated it. Like I was really, really miserable. Especially my last job was just not great. And I was talking with my now husband about dream jobs, and I was like, I've always wanted to be a voice on The Simpsons, but you probably just got to live in Hollywood. And then 2 weeks later, because when you put out into the universe what you want, she listens. 2 weeks later, Nancy Cartwright, who's the voice of Bart Simpson, was on the radio talking about dream jobs, and she was like, "Voiceover, or voiceover is the best job in the world. It's the dream job, and um, you guys in San Francisco, you're so lucky. You have one of the best voiceover schools here in your backyard." And I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" So I started taking classes, and 2 years later, I got signed, and I just wanted to work. Like I didn't care where it was. I wanted a way out of a life that I was really unhappy in. And it turns out that not only did I find this thing that I really, really enjoyed, but I also was having success at, right? My feedback was constantly good, and people were supporting me and championing me. And I was able to really take the leap, which is a scary thing. I was 30 when I made that change. And, at that point down the golden brick road of life, you're supposed to be, you know, uh, settled in a career and white picket fence and 2.5 kids and blah, blah, blah. And that wasn't my mold. And it was really scary to break it. It was really scary to say, this works for some people and hooray for them. This does not work for me. And I have to find a way to be happy. Um, so yeah, so games kind of came right out the gate, Katya, obviously, and then I did several characters throughout that series. And then I moved to Los Angeles and I didn't book for a year, right? So
Um,
it's that like, this is great. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to, and this is oh my God, what have I done? Um, and then through some uh, hard work and classes and a lot of mental health therapy and taking care of myself, I was the voice of a local grocery store for 8 years, right? So it's like, that's the thing about what we do, is that it's really hard now to be one thing and one thing only in voiceover. Like you have to know all of the genres, and you have to get good at all of them, because it is just too hard to make a living doing one thing and one thing only anymore. So that's a very long story to your question.
No, I love it. I love hearing you talk, and I think the chat also agrees too. I love this. This is great insight. There's a lot of people in this community who are interested in voice acting and interested in just acting in general and trying to pursue that. So I think that's really valuable information for them. Yeah,
Well,
it's
and if I may, like the cool thing about the global pandemic that sidelined us all for 2 years is that because of that, as a direct result of that, most everybody is now offering Zoom classes. And so there are schools, voiceover schools, that have a really great Zoom lineup. Kritzia Bajos, who's an actress here in Los Angeles, amazing actress. She started one called Voiceover Camp, and it's great. And she has really good people come in and teach, and she's honest, and she's kind, and she doesn't blow smoke up your butt, and I love her. So um, there are options now, which is a thing that was not available when I got started.
Yeah. It's so interesting that you say like you need to know everything, because that's kind of what I learned too when I started taking classes, is that, yes, I want to do video games, but you have to also need to do commercials. You have to also need to do radio
Yep.
ads. You have to also do, yeah. So you can't, it's interesting because when I first came down here to Los Angeles, I came as just like an actress, and I was auditioning for films and TV things and just everything, because you just have to
Yeah.
just go for it all. But then it's just like I didn't realize once I found where I wanted to, what I wanted to do, voiceover, I was like, oh, I thought, there you go. I'm just going to do voiceover stuff. But then there's a whole nother web with inside of that. So it just keeps going. And so it's
Well,
nice to know for folks who don't know. Yes, it's endless.
yeah. Well, and I think there's the common misconception that like, oh, you're in Call of Duty and Call of Duty made 700 gazillion dollars. You must be a millionaire. I'm not. I get paid a one-time session fee, which is like 800 bucks, and that's it. That is it. They own everything in that game, and like boom, bye. Um, Celebrities get paid more because they're celebrities and they have that name brand cachet, but like I'm a working class voice actor, you know what I mean? Um, and so I just I want people to understand that we are not millionaires. we we work very hard for every single job. And when I got started, the national ratio of auditions to booking for a national television union spot, which is where the money is, was 150 auditions to one booking. And auditions are unpaid and constant, right? It's just constantly throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it sticks and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes that doesn't stick, but they like you for something else. And sometimes you end up booking a cartoon show and sometimes you don't. And you know what I mean? So it's just constantly iterating.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fun job. I'm going to steal a line from I believe it was Cypress Hill that said, "It's a fun job, but it's still a job."
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I feel like. We're kind of in a sense our own entrepreneur, right?
Oh,
We
100%.
have to sell ourselves and we have to do all, we have to be good at social media. We have to, yes, some of us have agents and managers to help along with that. But when it comes down to it, like if you want to work more, you got to work more, you got to put yourself out there more. And that's the same kind of thing with streaming too. Like a lot of people are like, oh, you're a streamer. That must be so much fun. Yeah, it's fun, but it is a lot of hard work as well. And I think a lot of people, on the outside looking in don't realize that in creative careers.
Hmm.
We really love what we're doing, but it's hard. It's hard. And we don't get
Yeah.
paid a lot. We really don't. Yeah, this is a question, I guess, kind of down the line, but it's on that same realm. So you've done animation and video games. So what's the difference with do they do just a one-time flat rate with animation as well? Or I know it's different.
Animation is different. So uh, for the session, it's there you get a session fee, which is similar to a video game session fee, if not a little bit more. But with animation, especially if it's on cable, there's a residual. So every time the show plays, principal characters get a little bit of money,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is why you see the jokes about people getting the 1 penny residual checks, which
Yeah.
I actually have like 3 of. It's hilarious. I'm like,
Oh
you
my God.
spent more on the stamps. Um,
Uh,
but with the proliferation of streaming services, um, how do I say this? They when Netflix first came to SAG-AFTRA to negotiate a contract with us, they said, "But we're not an entertainment company. We're a technology company, so we can't track this." And so they got a steep discount on residuals, and so our earnings have plummeted, um, which is interesting because, for example, when the Owl House first comes out, it comes out on Disney Channel,
mm-hmm.
right? It comes out on the actual channel, which is great for me because then I get like a residual check, which is really nice and it helps put my kids through school. But then once it then goes to Disney Plus, which is where everybody wants it to be, and everybody complains that it's not on Disney Plus from day one, um, I make considerably less. So it's this Pandora's box, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
like we want to champion technology and making things available all the time, but more often than not, it's the creatives that get squished, right?
Exactly.
It's us, it's the animators, it's the show creators, quite frankly, who, they're instead of getting a 26 episode pickup, they're doing 10 to 12 episodes for 3 seasons and they got to crank it out and then move on to the next. You got to find your next job because if you don't, you're screwed. You're out of work. what do I do? I can't have a gap on my resume. So people are just grinding themselves to the bone
Mm,
because there's such a demand for content.
mm-hmm.
Is that I love the content. Like there's some amazing shows coming out. There's some amazing games. There's some amazing everything out there. It's just incredible. But at what, like, what's the human cost?
Exactly. But
You know
what
what I mean?
price? I mean, burnout is
Yeah.
very real. Burnout is very,
Yeah.
especially in production and post production. Oh my gosh, post production. Wow, like those folks are spending hours upon hours, 12-hour days editing and
Yeah.
getting everything done. And I see it time and time and again on Twitter of people burning out and like actually having to go to the hospital because
Yes.
they want
And
to
I
be
think,
yes people.
that we all do.
Yeah.
We all want to be yes people. But I think the amazing thing is that the conversations around crunch in video games has really started to become public, right? People are really talking about crunch and how unhealthy it is, and there's talk of unionizing game developers, and hooray, because the conditions that people are crunching under are completely unsustainable. But you're seeing the same thing in animation. It's just people don't think it's as big a deal because cartoons are funny, you know?
Yeah.
And so there has to be parity. Like we have to take care of each other.
Well, it's
I really
interesting
feel.
you said, yeah, versus video game versus, animation and cartoons, because these devs that work on the video games, they can work on those for upwards to 5 years sometimes, right? Maybe longer. And you even said like the crunch with going from 10 episodes to, okay, we have to find another job immediately. So it's almost less
Mhm.
secure for them because the ones that are at the game companies, they've got a job for 5 years, some of them. And yeah, animation for those folks, like I never really thought about that and like how scary and stressful, and they're constantly trying to find another job. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
because
lot of burn and churn.
yeah, that's wild to talk about. I love this conversation though because I feel like these kind of things, people don't like talking about it, right? People don't like to talk about just how difficult it is, and it's not all rainbows and butterflies. It really isn't. And so I
Yeah.
appreciate you, diving into this conversation and talking about this with me. It's valuable. It's valuable. Um,
It is, and I, again, I am living my dream, one hundo p. I
yeah,
love my job. I love what I do. I was up at 12:30 last night doing my auditions because they were due this morning at 9. You know what I mean? Like, I love what I do. I eat, sleep, and breathe it, but I work my ass off. I'm
yeah.
constantly figuring out, like you said, I run my own business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think there, again, with the common misconceptions is, yeah, but you just talk. No, I promise I do more than that. I
Yeah.
promise I do. Um, and so it's good to start having these conversations because those of us in the entertainment industry are seen as having the dream jobs. We sure do, but there's still jobs.
Exactly. And just being an advocate for yourself and putting yourself out there, like obviously like we can be humble and appreciative of where we're at, but we also need to be real and let people know exactly how much hard work we've put into this and how much we deserve. I think that
Yeah.
people and even myself, you get wrapped up into it. You're like, "Oh man, like am I being, too cocky? Am I deserving of, all this stuff?" And it's like, "Yes, you are." Like we are. We are deserving of where we're at in life because we've worked hard to get here. And of course, like you've worked incredibly hard to get where you are at. And it shows. It shows. Um, yeah. So I have a question from HT82 Smash, and they want to know what your favorite voice role is. I know, right? Don't you love that question?
Ugh.
Now rack your brain,
But
think really hard.
I can I mean, like, I like so many different ones for different reasons,
Okay.
is what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Um, I will always love Katya because she was my first job. I will always love Delilah from Firewatch because that was my first leading role, and it really opened a lot of doors for me. Um, I will always love Joyce because she was just such a sweet, um, motherly figure before I was a mother, and kind of seeing the dynamics between mother daughter. I will always love Lilith from The Owl House because she was my first big animation role, and she's been such a joy to inhabit and to see people respond to the show the way that they have, and the representation in the show, and the fun that we have, like the fun that I have with the rest of the cast and the crew. And um, there's just something so magical about it. And there's roles coming up that I can't talk about yet that I cannot wait for the world to see. I mean, there's a ton of like, soldier number 47, and that's great. And they have their purpose, but I've been really, really fortunate to have some absolutely amazing characters. And every time I take one of a little piece of them with me, and so no, I'm not gonna pick one. I have like 20.
I like that. No, Soldier number 4 had to walk before, these amazing, bigger leading roles could run. And I think that,
True.
yeah, like it's awesome. And the thing is it's like, it ebbs and flows. It's up and down. It's a roller coaster, and I don't know. I feel like as an actor in the world, I don't know, like I would do another Soldier number 4, like why not? It's a job. I need the
Yeah, I
money.
did one. Exactly. I did one last week that was an atmospheric for a large game coming out, and they had me do 17 characters in a
Ah,
3-hour session.
I
Like,
love that.
how fun is that?
Yeah, that's
Right?
awesome.
Ridiculous. I'm
That's
like, I want the backstory for all of these crazy characters, but we don't have time.
no.
So we just power through it.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like it was a workout class. That
It
feels like
was. I left and I was like,
you had a little voiceover class right there. It's good too, because like when we have jobs like that, like we get to just mess around and have fun and play, and I think that that's a lot of fun.
totally.
So I have a question from Pow. So kind of going off of your roles and your love for them. Pow says, thanks for visiting us. Big fan of your work and career. What advice could you give to people based on the roles you have had and what characters what the characters have gone through? And then says, greetings from Mexico and from your fellow
Ah,
witch.
hola bruja. Um, I guess advice in terms of like life advice or
I think
voiceover
just
advice.
I think life advice. So what these roles,
Mm.
you know, these characters have gone through, and how do you pull from those characters' lives and feed them into your own life?
You know, this is something I've been working a lot on in my own life, and I will say I'm starting to see it more in games and more in shows, and it is set your boundaries but lead with kindness. And it's hard to do.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
So, yeah,
Set
that's
your
I
boundaries and lead with kindness. Well, it's true, because like we're all yes people, right? Again, like we want to say yes, we want to make sure that we're easy to work with. We want to, do in
yeah.
any situation, just in life, we're people pleasers. A lot of people are.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's not bad to set boundaries. It's not bad to know your worth and to
It's
know
not.
your treatment worth too, like how people should treat you. Um,
It's it's not bad, but it's real hard.
yeah.
Especially, I feel as women, we've been at least me growing up, I was taught so often to just smile and make everybody else comfortable at my own detriment. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's been a huge relearning curve for me, in that I can have boundaries. I can make other people uncomfortable if I am not happy with the situation that's happening, but I don't have to be mean about it,
Exactly.
right? There's no sense in being a mean girl.
Mm-mm. No, you can just be professional and put yourself out there and say what needs to be said. Um, but definitely, like, it is hard. And I feel like you're saying that you're kind of in that boat. And I feel like I started becoming in that boat a couple years ago. And even now it's like, oh, am I being too mean? Is this being too like blunt? I don't know, but be kind and just trust your gut,
Mhm.
trust your instinct. I also really love, just kind of going back, the fact that you said, when you put something out in the universe, because I'm so big into that. It's so true. It's so true. So I love meeting other people who are, about the universe and putting energy into it and wanting to receive energy back. So I just wanted to touch on that and just say that's really cool.
Totally.
Yeah, it's just like, it's crazy. You literally, when you put yourself out there and you work hard, you get it back. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see.
Agreed.
David asks, I would first like to say how much I appreciate Cissy in the world of voice acting with roles in The Owl House, Firewatch, and Life is Strange, especially as someone who dreams of being a professional voice actor one day. So thank you for everything you do, Cissy. In the shoes of Joyce, would there have been anything you would have done personally different.
Oh, yeah. Listen, Joyce was lovely, but like Joyce 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 put everybody else's comfort above her own, right? Joyce married a man who was not great because she needed stability for her daughter, which it did not provide, right? And she needed what she thought was a soft place to land herself in case, money troubles or whatever. Um, I have kids. I would never put anybody else above my kids, ever, ever, ever. Um, I think Joyce is a beautifully flawed character, but there are many choices that she made that I would not. That's all.
I think it's awesome that we can live in those roles though, and we can be like, this is how I am not, and learn from that. And maybe sometimes we haven't even experienced that or thought about, exactly putting our kids underneath somebody else, but it just like really ingrains that more in us that like we are not that person. And that's what's the coolest thing about acting is that we get to play these different people and live in their lives and then bring that back to our own lives. And yeah, it's so interesting.
Yes, there's a show coming out, and it's been announced, so I can say it. I don't know when it's coming out, but it's based on the Ark game, and it's the Ark animated series, and the character I play in that is so fun and
Oh,
so diametrically opposed from who I am, and I cannot wait for people to hate her because it's
ooh,
gonna
hate
be great.
her. Oh, I'm excited. I know it's like,
Yes,
can we just play a character? Like, can we just play a villain? Can we play something like it's so greedy and ooh, I'm excited. Cool. Awesome.
yeah,
I love
yeah.
that.
Me too.
Hate her. Oh, somebody in the chat's like freaking out. They're excited about it. Um, yeah. So, and Cam asked, I guess, what was your reaction when you were contacted and got the role for Joyce, in terms of just reading her for the first time and
Well, it was funny because that was back before we had the video game strike, and so it was all under a fake name. We were given no details about the project. I mean, I must have been 6 or 7 sessions into recording before they told me like anything about any of the other characters. So I really had no idea. I didn't really know what it was. I remember getting this audition. Like I went to school in Oregon, so I know Astoria. I've been there. It's actually where the Goonies was filmed, if you've seen
yeah.
that beautiful 80s movie. Um, but for some reason, I just thought this woman, like I had this whole backstory in my head of how she was like born in like Oklahoma, um, and then met Chloe's dad at a diner, and they decided to take a road trip and elope together, and that's how she ended up in Oregon. But she had a Southern accent. Like I had this whole thing in my head, and she was fun. Like but again, I didn't understand the weight of the game at the time. um, there's only been one game that I really understood, two, that I really understood the weight of it as I was recording, and that was The Walking Dead. Um, because as you know, like we'll share 1,000 credits with somebody, and it'll be like, "Oh, you're in Modern Warfare 90." Me too. Cool. Um, but when I met the cast of The Walking Dead, I think we'd finished filming or recording episode 3, and I was invited to a bar where they were all hanging out. And I walked in, I knew nobody. And I was like, hi, I'm Katya. And everyone was like, oh my God, Katya, I can't believe what they did to you. And it was like this immediate like cohesion of people, which is very rare in what we do, because it's usually so often in a vacuum.
Hmm.
And Firewatch, because the guys that wrote season 1 of The Walking Dead also wrote Firewatch. And I knew that whatever they did was going to be special. But other than that, it's so often a crapshoot,
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
we just have no idea.
Nope.
We have no idea.
Yeah, I had no
Like
idea as
I
well.
have a I have a massive game coming out next year. Massive. It'll be the biggest game I've ever done. And I'm like, I hope it's good.
Dang, massive game that hasn't been announced, right?
My involvement in it has not been announced.
Ooh, a massive game. I love that. And that's another thing too, is we literally we never know timelines. We don't know when anything comes out. Like you could wake up tomorrow morning and there's a game trailer and you're like, oh, I gotta get on social media. I gotta do this. What's going on? I didn't know this was gonna
Yeah.
post. Yeah, they just don't tell actors anything. It's just like, all right, here we go. Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's always just a crapshoot. Dang, I love that. Well, I'm excited. There's a lot of stuff in the works for you in the future, in the
There is.
close future. Ooh.
There
Um,
is. I'm really looking forward to it.
yes. So I'm curious, what are some of your voiceover rituals when landing a new role and then getting in the booth for the first time?
So the first thing I do is I go back and listen to my audition because I am really bad at remembering what I did. So I will go back and listen to what it is that I did. I'll read the original script, and then we're typically not given a script ahead of time, so we just have to go in and trust the director. If it's a PCAP situation, then yeah, we'll memorize lines and stuff, but that's very rare. The other thing I do, especially when there's vocally stressful stuff, is I do my vocal warm-ups on the voice straw. Um, I mean, my friend developed this. She's a singing coach. She's the singing coach for like Miley Cyrus and Lil Nas X and like all of these amazing people. And so she's developed these warm-ups with straws. It's called straw phonation. And this thing has changed my friggin' life. Um, there, a large part of games is called efforts. It's sometimes in animation, it's not as common in animation, but efforts are like the fight sounds or like, death, like, that kind of stuff. And everybody wants a huge set of efforts of 80 million different ways to die and 15 different ways you get punched in the stomach and 9 ways that your throat can get sliced open and you die. Um, it's really hard on your vocal cords. It's really, really hard on your vocal cords, and nobody talks about it. So I talk about it a lot because vocal health is really important. Because I make my entire income from this little spot on my body, if anything happens to my cords, I'm out. I'm done. I have had game sessions where I have left with my throat bleeding, and it's terrifying.
Mm.
Um, these and having a good coach who knows your voice and who can help you like rehabilitate after a rough session are life changing. Um, I literally had a session yesterday that was pretty heavy on the efforts, and they would let me stop every 10 minutes and like reset. And then, maybe, I don't know, we had an hour and change left in the session, and they were like, "Can you just speak in your regular voice?" And I said something in my regular voice, and they said, "We hear a little bit of rasp. Let's just call it. We'll bring you back to finish it up later. Go home, rest." And I was like, "What? This this has never. It's I've been doing this for 12 years. That has never happened to me.
Wow.
That has never happened." And and I did. And I came home and I did my rehab set, and I feel great and I'm ready to go. So if you are going to do games uh, and anime, which can be incredibly vocally stressful as well, get yourself a good straw set and learn how to do straw phonations.
Me after this interview. I'm gonna go on and I'm gonna look this up because oh my gosh, I struggle so much with my voice, and like you can hear my voice is so raspy. I've got horrible vocal fry, and I started recently going to my first ever. I've been doing a singing lesson more or less because I've been interested in singing, but it's also teaching me more about placement and those kind of things, and yeah, but it's
Yeah.
man, it's a struggle because I talk constantly on stream, and then I also do, voice gigs from time to time, and so it's just like, yeah, it's stressful. I feel like I'm just ruining my voice, and I'm like, okay, well, how do I fix this? So I'm excited to look into this straw. Um,
You build the muscle.
yeah,
You
exactly.
build the muscle and you exercise it daily, and that keeps it going. Um, I don't know if you care about the physiology of it, but your vocal cords, if you've ever seen vocal cords, they're real weird. They're these two little flaps in the back of your throat, and anytime sound comes out, they're making a wave like this. It's so weird. And when you scream and yell and and stuff like that, they get off kilter, right? So they when they try to move, that's when you get like the lesions and the cysts and stuff like that because they're hitting in spots that they're not supposed to hit. So when you do the straw, you're blowing air out, but enough pressure comes back down your throat that it resets them. So they go from
Mm,
this to this, and then they
wow.
can function again normally. It's
Ha-
like I did a free webinar with the woman who created this and with Dr. Gupta, who's the leading laryngologist, and I went to her office, and she put a scope up my nose on my throat with a camera to show what it looks like when you scream, and then you do the straw phonation and how it resets it. And I'm telling
Wow.
you, it has changed my entire career.
Holy moly. So your friend who does the straw, um, did so I mean, was she just was like, I need to help people. I need to how did she figure this out for herself?
So she's a singer as well, and
Okay.
she's been um, mostly working with professional singers. And she found that there was a lot of fatigue,
Mhm.
right? And there was a lot of like after you've been talking for a long day, you start to hear the rasp come in
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And she was like, it shouldn't be that way. You know, that there should be a way to strengthen this muscle. Like we can do the um chords all we want, la 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 la, but um there's no um what's like when you're lifting weights, what's the word that's like uh
No.
there's a weight to it. There's nothing like
Yeah.
forcing it to exercise. I
Yeah.
words are I speak for a living, I swear to God. But she knew that straw phonation existed, but was like, there needs to be a better way to do it. So she also, with her straws, sells these there are these little silicone cups. Where are my cups? Oh, I think they're in my car because I take them with me to go. But she sells these little silicone cups that come with them as well, and they're like this big, and you fit the straw right through the center of it. And when you're going to do efforts, you fix it up to your mouth, really, with a tight seal, and you say the thing exactly how you're going to say it. Resistance, that's what I was looking for.
Uh-huh.
You scream the thing, "Hey, over here!" But you scream it as loud as you would into the silicone cup, which creates the resistance to reset your chords,
Uh,
and then you pull it off and say it how they want it said in the game, and there's no damage done to your throat.
wow.
And so she developed all of this with Dr. Gupta and another person whose name I'm forgetting, um, and she uses it constantly.
So you bring that into
She,
you bring that into sessions? Wow.
I do,
I
I
love
do,
that.
and I'll do it in my car on my
Yeah.
way to a session. If it's a particularly rough session, I'll ask for a break, and I have like she'll do a warm up with you. So she'll schedule a session, and you can do a 10-minute warm up that you can record. And I emailed that to myself so I can pull that up in a session and just knock it out whenever I need to. It's
Wow.
incredibly helpful.
Wow. That's awesome. That's really, really valuable information. Um,
It is.
wow. You mentioned a little bit ago about PCAP. And I'm curious which roles were did you do performance capture for?
Well, they're not out yet, but they're
Oh,
coming.
that's the massive game. Oh, I can't wait. Oh, I'm so
No,
excited.
it's not. It's a different game. It's
What?
three different games.
Oh,
Yeah.
three? You did performance capture for three different games over the span
Yeah.
of like the last couple years? Or that's
Yeah.
amazing. Because I feel like I've been
It's really fun.
seeing you in performance capture stuff, or you've posted something, and I'm like, what's she working on? So that's
Yeah.
so that's cool. So all this performance capture stuff that you're doing has been fairly recent in terms of, acting, like within the last couple years.
Yeah,
Wow.
but then the games won't come out for like 4 years.
Of course, of course, of course. Yeah, that's how it is. And then you can, yeah, when you're auditioning for other games or other things that, need performance capture, you can be like, I promise I'm doing one right now. I just can't show you. But
Yes.
I'm doing it and I know everything about motion capture and performance capture now.
It's so fun.
Yeah,
It's so fun.
I agree. Like, I mean, it's like, and it's interesting too because you didn't come from a theater background at all, right? You just this is just a huge switch. So, coming from a theater background, getting into a mocap suit and being able to perform a character is so different from, voiceover. Well, how, I guess, yeah, how was that for you getting into a mocap suit and being able to perform something fully instead of being in the booth?
I mean, the first time I did it was probably 10 years ago for it was an Oculus Rift game, I think.
Oh, cool.
And I felt so awkward in my body
Yeah.
because I'm used to like standing in my booth, right? And I've got my microphone and I can't move off of my microphone, but my hands can move, but I can't move too much because then the sound of my shirt will pick up. Um, having to memorize scripts, having other people there to react off of. Normally, it's just you hope you have a good director. Otherwise, you're like, well, I guess it's theater of the mind for me this time. Um, and they'll like for this last one, I had a spear, right, which is basically like this long broom handle with like a reflective ball on the end of it, and it's just fun. Like I get to like move my spear around and throw it at people, and I don't know. It's so fun and different, and it's a completely different muscle.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
Well, you're activating not only your voice, but your mind and body and everything. Like everything is tied into one to create a full character. There's not anybody doing motion capture for your character. Like it's you.
Yeah.
It's your body.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And it's weird because for the longest time I felt so uncomfortable in my own skin. You know what I mean? In my 20s and 30s, like I really struggled with liking who I am. And now I'm like, you know what? Can I swear on the show?
yes.
I'm like, fuck it. I really like who I am. I don't need to be awkward to make you comfortable or that guy comfortable. This is me. This is it. So I'm good, and I feel like there's just a different ownership of my personage in that I hadn't had before.
I love that. And I feel like in our 20s, yeah, we don't understand that eventually we will love ourselves. Like I just more and more people, like as I get older and I talk to more women, we were so uncomfortable because the world made us feel like this, and our upbringing and the
Yeah.
society and all of that. But like the older I get and the older I think we get, we just realize that that kind of stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. None of it
Nope.
matters.
And it's a really great form of subjugation.
Yeah.
And then when you realize like there's power in ownership of who you are, it unlocks a whole lot of different things.
It's the universe again.
Hmm.
It is. It
She's
is.
out there.
Right.
She's
She's out
waiting
there.
for you.
She really is. Um, so we've talked about things that you can't talk about, but we know that they're happening. We've talked about some of your past stuff. But is there, Greg wants to know, is there a dream project that you'd like to star in that you haven't had the opportunity to yet?
You know what I would love to see is a Jane Bond. I would love
Ooh.
to see like a female version of Jane Bond. I don't know if it's out there, and
Huh.
I'm sure if it was, they'd probably get like Scarlett Johansson or something to do it. But um, I would love to see that. I'm also been championing for years to get more women in movie trailers, and it's a really tough uphill climb. Um, Movie trailers there's like 10 dudes who do all the movie trailers, and uh, they don't want to.
In terms of editing movie trailers, or in
No, in
terms
terms of
of being,
The Dark Knight opens July 17th, rated R.
oh, you're talking about voice. Okay. Okay. You're talking about the voice. You're right.
It's all dudes.
We don't ever talk about this, and I love that. I've never heard anybody like talk about this and champion for that, and that's amazing. And you're totally right. We're so attuned to it because we've been listening to that
Hmm.
since we were like younger and we went to our first movie.
Yep. Yep. I pushed so hard. I campaigned so fucking hard to be the voice of Wonder Woman 84, and they went with a dude. I had a job, a movie trailer, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago now for like it was a buddy adventure with two women, and they were like, "It's you. We're gonna use you. Here's 50 spots we need you to record." I recorded at 11:30 at night. Some nights I recorded from a camping trip with my family. Like I jumped up and bent over backwards for these people. And the week before it was set to air, they said, we should get that guy that does The Bachelor. And it disappeared. And like that kind of stuff drives me crazy because I'm like, why? Why can't it be women?
Mm-hmm.
Because you think women aren't authoritative? Why? Because we haven't been given the opportunity since movie trailers became a thing. So let's change the narrative,
Yeah.
right?
I love that. No, I'm gonna go over here and do research and see what movie trailers that have women's voices in it because I feel like I can't even think of one off the top of my head.
There was Gone in 60 Seconds, which was Melissa Disney. There was Magic Mike, which was Cami Gladich. I did one for John Wick Chapter 2.
Oh,
I did a series for a thing called Nerve and the Broken Hearts Gallery, all indies. And then I was Charlize Theron's sound alike for The Huntsman and Atomic Blonde. So I did them as her in those.
Wow. Okay, guys, we gotta look those up. We gotta look those up because I've definitely seen the last two that I've seen those trailers. So that's awesome. That's awesome that you're just, I don't know, you're fighting for what others, like we said, don't want to talk about or don't want to fight for, don't want to put themselves out there. But yeah, you gotta do that. Somebody has to. And it feels good when it's I don't know, at least that's how it is for me. Like when something isn't happening in my sphere, like I have to be the one to make it happen. And like, that's so cool because when people think about change, a lot of stuff doesn't happen right away. And I think that can deter people from trying to make change. But like you coming out here and championing for that and continuing to push and talk about it publicly, like those are little pieces of change that we may not see until 10 or 15 years from now. They'll be like, oh, Cissy always talked, like, this is what it was. This was Cissy doing it. And I think that that's really cool and valuable.
She never shuts up.
She didn't stop. She didn't stop. Yeah, that's awesome. Especially the producers who, trust and bring that in and let these women come in here and do this and show that they are worth it. And they can also deliver an amazing trailer.
What's interesting is I met the filmmaker for the buddy adventure one. I met her later because she was a friend of mine, and I said, I was almost the voice of your movie. And she goes, what are you talking about? And I said, yeah, I recorded all these spots for this trailer house, and then they switched up at the last minute. She goes, I had no idea. I would have loved to have had a woman on that.
They didn't even talk to her. They didn't even freaking talk to her. Oh no. My gosh, they're over here just making these calls and moves and just not just. You think, you think we're making progress in terms of like equality and women in the industry, in any industry, right? And then you hear things like this and it's like, they're not even telling, women who are heads of departments and things, what's happening. It's like, what?
Well, it's like the head doesn't talk to the hand. You know what I mean? Like in that pipeline, it's just like, no, you stay in your lane and we'll do ours over here. And whatever. And then with the pandemic, there was a huge reset. So we were starting to make headway. Like I was starting to see more opportunities be available. And then the pandemic hit and they were like, we need old faithful, we need authoritative, we need comforting man. And so everything shifted back to that. So now it's kind of starting again from square one.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you know people who are making trailers, just drop that. And like it doesn't have to be me. I just want to hear women. I want to hear women out there, so I mean, if it's me, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah, that's awesome. No, I love that.
Yeah.
Switching gears a bit. So I'm probably gonna butcher this name, so feel free to correct me. So Raka says, how was working with Yuri Lowenthal and rapping on his Naruto rap album project?
Oh my God, it was a blast.
Did you write that, or was it all scripted for you? Okay, yeah, that was another one of the questions.
That's a great question. So Yuri had been working with this guy. I don't even know if I know his real name. He's just Big Lug, is what he calls himself on the socials. And they decided to do this Naruto themed album to raise money. And Yuri is like the loveliest human being on this goddess given planet. Like he is so kind and generous and loving and warm. I love that guy and his wife. Like they're just really good people. So he contacted me and he was like, hey, are you interested? Because he and I had just done a song together for Call of the Sea. I am not known as a singer. Yuri is not known as a singer. We did this beautiful little indie game called Call of the Sea. And they were like, we have this song from 1919. We want to refresh and have you two sing it in a 2-part harmony. What do you think? And I was like, okay. And so we had just done that together. And then they sent me the track for Kaguya, and I was like, oh my, this is dope as hell. Like, yes, I'm in. And I recorded it. It was great. I guess Yuri said there's people that want us to come do it live at conventions, and I'm like, let's blow the roof off this MFer.
Oh my God, I love that. See, it's so cool. You just don't know what's out there. Like you don't know. And yeah, you just kind of just take whatever comes in into our sphere. And you said you've never rapped. You don't consider yourself a singer.
I rap.
You rap.
I rap Don't get me wrong, by
So
myself
so
or at
it's
karaoke.
but yeah, you don't consider yourself a singer. And putting trust into yourself, knowing that, okay, well, they want me to do this, so I'm just gonna do it and trust that it's gonna be great. It's
Yep.
funny too. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like, I like karaoke. I do karaoke.
Yeah.
Which yeah, that's awesome. I also I would love to see you guys perform that at the conventions. I
Oh my
think that
God.
would be great.
I would die. It'd be so much fun. It was such a fun thing to be a part of, and like I got that song stuck in my head for like a month after we finished recording.
Oh yeah,
It was so fun.
cool.
So fun.
Thank you for that
Yeah.
question, Rocket. That was a fun question.
It's a
Um,
great question.
So you've been in tons and tons of games. Now we talked a little bit before. I told Cissy, I was like, you need to start a Twitch channel. But I am curious, have you played any of your games, or at least watched? I'm sure you've watched playthroughs, but do you play games? You have kids, do they play games? Have they played your games?
No, usually because I'm a bad guy in games, and they're like, "That's what you sound like when you yell at us." Just kidding.
Oh,
Like season one of the Owl House, they're like, "You're scary."
oh,
Um, I am a terrible gamer because I just haven't had the time to devote to getting decent.
yeah.
I've played a couple, like I played After Party, which was so much fun.
Yeah, there's After
Um,
Party. There's so many games that I'm just
I
like, oh
love
wait, you
After
were in that
Party.
one, you were in that one. I remember playing that game. I was playing it on stream, and I was like, is that Sissy? Is that Sissy's voice? And everyone's like, yeah, that's Sissy. And I was like, oh
Oh my God, because it was this weird, like what?
my god.
So much fun. Um, yeah, and then the same team that made Call of the Sea is making a new game called American Arcadia, and they had a demo available at Tribeca in June, and so I got to try to play that. I'm real bad. I'm like trying to figure out the controls. My problem is I learned to play originally on like the old school NES, right? With the flat controllers, and I
Yeah.
learned to play like this instead of like this so
Oh
that I
no.
could I could make him run really fast and then jump, and his little legs would keep going like this in the air.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when the new controllers came out and they were all like thumbs,
Yeah.
I got very scared.
It didn't
So
translate well to your little crab pinching. Oh, I love that. That's awesome. Oh, that's funny. Uh
yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely yeah, the video game when I first started playing video games 5 years ago, I was so bad. And I'm not the best, but I've learned over time, but it takes a lot of time to get good at these games. And like some of the times too, like you know, you like for instance The Walking Dead, you know, like you that's a hard game sometimes. Like you have to do stuff or even like The Last of Us.
Oh
If
my
I
God.
was in a voice in Last of Us and I just wanted to see myself, you know, or hear myself, it's just like I have to.
Yeah.
Oh my, that game, the first Last of Us at least, was so difficult for me. I would have given up. I'd been like, I'm just gonna go play and watch a playthrough. I don't know where I'm at in this. So,
Yeah, well one of my friends was playing GTA 5, and she's like, "I just heard you in GTA 5." And I was like, "Where?" She's like, "I don't know."
oh, I want to
It's
know
great.
where. Yeah, I love GTA 5.
I
Um,
I I believe I play a prostitute that you light
love
on
it.
fire and throw out a window before you steal my car. So, you know.
Awesome. Perfect. Soldier number 4 and then light on fire prostitute in GTA. Love that so much. The things that voice actors do.
Oh my God.
So we have how are you on time? We have a couple more questions here, but I don't want to misuse your time. I don't want to take too much of it.
I got about 10 more minutes. Yeah.
Okay, let's go through these last couple questions here then. Um so Mitch asks, as a performer, what was your favorite difficult moment challenge because of what it taught you and how it helped you to grow as a person? Great question, Mitch.
Wow, that's a really good question. What it taught me and helped me grow. There's a couple. Um, Number one, this might be spoilers for the Owl House, so if you haven't watched the Owl House season one, and shut your ear holes. Um, in the episode called Agony of a Witch, it is revealed that my character was the one that cursed her sister, and there's this amazing fight scene they have between the two sisters, and my character is being egged on by her sister, and then she finally just screams, basically, "I did it!" And the the way that that went down, um, it had been kind of this fun, like cat and mouse through season 1. Like, will my character catch her? Will she get away? And how's this going to play out? Because there's this pressure happening and blah. And then in that one, it was just no holds barred. And I know we were in the session, and it was getting, you're in the middle of this fight scene and all of this stuff is happening. And then there's the big line. Then why were you so easy to curse? And it was just this moment when I was like sobbing in the booth because it was so visceral and real and awful, and so much weight, that you carry around of something that you did when you were a stupid kid, and it comes back to bite you in the ass years later. And how do you deal with that? And what's the trauma? And how do you move past it? And um God, it was so heavy. I don't think they expected me to go that big. I think they just expected it to be kind of like the continued like cat and mouse, like, oh yeah, well then why this? And I was like, no, fuck it. I'm going for it. And the ability to get that real and that raw and that vulnerable, and to have it make the final cut. I mean, that's why we do what we do, because that for me was years of my own regrets and trauma and lack of therapy, and mistakes that I'd made that I never
Mm-hmm.
corrected. And man, that was heavy. And then with The Walking Dead, the Katya's final scene, we were all just a snotty mess, just sobbing in the booth. And I had lost my cousin when I was younger. He was 13, and he died in a horrible freak gun accident, and it devastated me. And Katya reminded me very much of his mom, who is one of my favorite humans on the planet. And so having that moment of like, my child is dying, and I can either kill him or kill myself. Uh, whoa, it was really heavy. And again, because that was my first role, it was that thing of like, I don't know how to protect myself in this. I don't know how to like bring it 70%. You're getting the whole hog. And it worked because it was real for me, but also because the director afterwards was like, okay, that was real heavy. Let's take a beat. Are you okay? What do you need? How can we take care of you? It was really sweet and collaborative. And I needed that getting started in my journey, to know it was okay to go big and real, and that I wasn't being taken advantage of. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It sounds.
There was also, if I can,
Yeah,
there
yeah.
was also, we recorded a separate ending of Firewatch, um, where about 2/3 of the way through the game, Delilah cuts Henry off, and she's like, "Fuck you! I never want to talk to you again. You're crazy. Peace." And she like bugs out. And I remember recording it and thinking, this isn't gonna work. The people are gonna hate this. This isn't gonna work. And sure enough, about a month later, Sean Vanneman called me and he was like, "It doesn't work. We need Delilah. She has to be there. Like, she's the compass of the game." And that was the moment of like, trust your gut. Like, your gut knows what's happening. If it doesn't feel right to you, it's not going to feel right to somebody else. Um, that was a really nice little reminder.
Yeah, I love that. Great question again, Mitch. That was wonderful. Cool. Okay, so we have got a couple of just fun little questions here that we'll just shoot through. If you could only bring 3 items to a deserted island, you can't leave the island, what would you bring?
It can't be my like family, right? It has to be like a thing.
Yeah, like an item, an object.
Mm, earplugs. A good towel, and cannot leave. I don't know. A notebook
I love that. I like that
and a
question
pen.
because it like I don't know, it allows you to think a little bit about like what that person values. And yeah, obviously you want it to be quiet. You don't want to be bothered. You want a little bit of comfort, and you want to be able to express yourself. And I think that's really cool. So
Yeah.
Fur asks, bacon omelet or Belgian waffle?
Bacon omelet, baby.
Ooh, that's always a debate, a very large debate.
That
I
is a
love
very large
that.
debate.
Everyone's excited to hear you say that though. Okay, well, this has been literally wonderful. I love this so much. I just love
So
hearing
good.
you talk about your experience in the industry. As somebody who is, starting off and trying to work her way up into different roles, but also for the
I'm gonna
community.
ask you to change the verbiage on that and not trying to work your way up. You are
I
working.
am. And thank you for doing that because I've been trying to change. I am changing my verbiage. Instead of saying, I will do this, or you're going to do this, or I am going to do this. So I'd like write in my journal every night, my goals and stuff. And this is going to happen, instead of like, I wish
Mm-hmm.
this would happen. No, it is going to happen. So thank you for changing that for me, because that's the process I'm in right now. Is as soon as we train ourselves, it'll be just second nature, but it's like you have to catch yourself. It's hard. I love
A lot
this.
of hard habits to break.
No, I love this so much. There's so much going on, and you've learned so much, and you're so wise with it all, and I really appreciate that. Do you have any last words you want to say? Anything you'd like to promote? And then where people
Um,
can find you?
yeah. First off, thank you so much for having me on, and
Yeah.
thank you, chat, for the amazing questions. Um, I was just announced yesterday that there's a new Transformers show on. It's coming out on Paramount Plus, and I get to play Alita One. And we're doing a panel at New York Comic Con in October. So if you're going to be at NYCC, come hit me up. Owl House season 3 is coming back at some point. I have no idea when. Um, there's things out there. I can't remember all of them. So I'm on the Twitters at Cissy Speaks, and it's the same for Instagram. I'm doing a show on Instagram, interviewing people in the animation industry. So if that's of any interest, come hang out.
Yeah.
That's it.
Awesome. Well, Sissy, thank you again so much. Chat, I'm going to go to a BRB screen, and then I'm going to see Sissy off, and then I will be back on to hang out with you guys. So
Thank you.
thank you again, Sissy. I appreciate it very, very much. And thank you guys also
Thank you.
very much for watching. All right, guys, BRB.